Hello, hello. This is the after the chew session of Chat Chew and You. We just had our regular session, guys, and we did go a little bit over, but the information was so freaking good that we just couldn't stop. We had to really find a stopping point. But we had additional questions that we wanted to address. So this is the second part to that. We want to make sure that everybody's questions are answered, that, at least from us and our perspective. So that's what this is all about. So we want to delve into that right now and get to it. All right, what's next, Ivy? What's the next question we have?
Okay. And I do want to say I'm drinking water now, guys. I have not been drinking wine for for this long. Yes.
It's okay.
For like 2 hours. Okay. Our next question is, what are some of the key symptoms of an unhealthy relationship? Yes, let's talk about this.
Well, I wanted to talk about it that you feel it in different levels. So emotionally, of course, if you're feeling sad, or especially if you feel like you're not worthy, if you don't feel that you're good enough, if there's belittling going on in relationships. And again, this isn't just romantic. This could be family members. Sometimes we give a pass to family members. Oh, mama is just like that. No, mama is rude, and she's not good for your emotional health. She may have her own wounds. Maybe that there's cursing and derogatory language and those type of things. So that type of signs of being unhealthy emotionally. And always check in with your energy. Like when you interact with a certain person, how do you feel? Do you end up leaving them feeling drained and or do you feel light? And of course, I understand that life, there's different flows in our relationships. Everything's not going to be cotton candy, and we want to be honest about that. But I'm sure there's some people, like the person you mentioned, Keisha, at the office, that, you don't even want to say happy Tuesday to them because they're so miserable. So it's how do you feel? That's a good way to check in. And that lets you know, is there something going on emotionally? Of course, the telltale signs of physical is unhealthy: choking, pushing, shoving, hitting, any of those type of things. And that's both ways for men as well. Women, you shouldn't engage in any of that behavior either. Sometimes you have women who express themselves this way towards men, hoping or believing these are men who believe in not hitting women, but that's not love. You can't put your hands on someone, you know. Mental is unhealthy when there's harassment, stalking. Stalking can even be when you put up clear boundaries to someone and they're sending you texts, emails, voice messages, calling back to back, trying to intimidate you in some type of way because you're not giving them the outcome that they want. Yeah, so that's what I have, guys, on signs that things are unhealthy, relationships are unhealthy, and look at it. It can be on multiple levels or even one. Someone may not be physically abusive, but are they verbally abusive? Do they, when they're angry or whatever, do they call you names that, again, or speak to you in such a manner, such a tone? Sometimes it can even be the tone, the yelling and all of that type of stuff. Check in with your energy, and that lets you know. But again, that goes back to being a connoisseur of you, knowing, maybe having to even reestablish your healthy equilibrium. So if equilibrium's here, 0, 50 and 100, and this is your equal, but everybody's equilibrium might be different. Your balance might be 80. Somebody else's balance might be 40. So there may even need to be a resetting that takes place as well.
I definitely. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Keisha.
I have one thing I have an issue with, and it's with females that call each other the B word. I don't use that word myself out loud and all this stuff, right? But girls who call themselves the B word to each other, and it's a term of endearment, so to speak, right? Well, I don't do that. I don't call my girlfriends that, and my girlfriends don't call me that. And when it was said to me one time out of this is how she treats all of her other girlfriends, it's like, whoa, 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 that's not how we roll. You know, yeah, I had to recognize that because it did not feel good to be called that. And when you are called that, I don't care whatever the tone is, to me, this is me and how this is part of my love language, right? That's not how I want to be loved, is to be called that word. So I had to nip that in the bud, but I felt that wasn't right. I felt that wasn't something I wanted to let continue, because if I did, then that's how the conversation would go. So that's another way, as Misha was talking about, how are you feeling, you know how you feel. You know, it's just that I think a lot of times we're scared to let other people know how we feel. And then when they keep treating us a certain way, you know, and we keep feeling this way, now it's like, dude, you've been saying this for 2 years. Why all of a sudden now you tell me I can't call you this? You know what I mean? So we let stuff go for so long, even though we don't feel good about it. And so that example came up for me when you're talking about that. It's the simplest things. If we would just say something the first, or say you missed it the first time, the second time, bring it up before it festers, then, you know, it goes too far out of the way and everybody is hurt.
Yeah.
So, that's an example of that.
And Keith, that goes back to tailoring the relationships, and this is showing how women just show up. Like, I call all my homegirls bees. Like, you know, no, tailor and custom our relationship, and you put up that healthy boundary. That doesn't work for me. And so those women, it might be like, well, Keisha, I'm not doing that. I'm not tailoring my relationship for you. But maybe some of those women might be, oh, okay, I can get with that. That's fine. I won't do that, you know. So, but again, honoring your voice, putting up those healthy boundaries, and knowing what works for you. Good job.
Yeah.
What do you have?
No, I definitely agree with I agree with you with knowing how, for me, I'm a touchy-feely person. I had to learn, you know, and this is like you were saying, part of being a connoisseur of you. Like, I learned that I'm a highly sensitive person, which is like an actual term. And so I'm really sensitive to environments and energy and like a lot of different things. So I do key into how people make me feel, or let me change the terminology around that, how I feel around certain people, because I don't feel like people can make you feel a certain way. But how being around certain people, or when people say things, how, you know, the emotions that come up for me. And so if I repeatedly feel certain negative emotions around someone, then I learned that either I need to address, like you said, those behaviors, and then if I address the behaviors, and I feel like if the relationship is healthy, the person is going to respect me bringing that to them, and they're going to put in the effort to ensure that that doesn't happen again, and that there is positive energy between us. But if the relationship is unhealthy, the person will be angry or defensive, or maybe even sometimes people make a joke of it, like, what? You're stupid. Why you making a big deal about that kind of thing, you know? Then that, to me, is an immediate indicator that, okay, this isn't really a healthy relationship, because I'm bringing this to you and you don't even, you know, value what I'm saying. No matter how, you know, sometimes it may seem, to the other person, it may seem small, but just the fact that they respect me and they love me, they might be like, I don't really see why it's a big deal, but because it's important to you, then I'll honor and respect that. And that's when I know that I'm in a healthy relationship.
Absolutely. Good point. I agree. Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say one more thing, and I don't know how well it fits here, but I know it fits in the whole big scheme of things, of relationships. But I've had women tell me, when you go back and ask and review the relationship, okay, at what point did you kind of get an idea this wasn't working, right? And, you know, hindsight is 20/20. No, I think a lot of times we know and can feel when things are not working. a friend of mine told me, hey, this guy, we've been dating for a few months, and he said such and such to me. What do you think about that? Well, I turned it back on her. Well, what do you think about that? Obviously, you think something because you're asking me about it, right? So then it's like, well, I kind of think it's this, this, and this. You don't sound too good about that. But you know what? You kept going with the relationship. Then other things started to happen. Other things. This was a sign. This was a feeling you had that you ignored.
Yes.
Just because you are in a romantic relationship or any other type of relationship doesn't mean that you get to ignore. Like you said with the mama, that's how mama act. I'm not going to ignore that. Because I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to feel in this relationship when we interact. I don't always want to be feeling guilty because you're mom, or feeling bad because you called me out of my name and I can't call you that because then we got an issue. So it's like, no, I don't care who it is. Honor those feelings you have. They're there for a reason. They're your signposts.
Yes.
They're talking to you.
Absolutely. Yes. You're right. I agree. Absolutely agree.
Yeah. Don't be scared. Don't be scared, you guys.
Yeah.
Another question that we had was what types of relationships can be unhealthy? And in that question, just for a little bit of clarity, a lot of times people feel like, okay, just romantic relationships can be unhealthy, but there are other relationships that can be unhealthy as well. What do you think about that, ladies?
Well, I put them all of them. Romantic, family, friends, associates, business, they all, because life is a relationship, and this is the last one I would put in, with yourself. And that's the tough thing. Do you have an unhealthy relationship with yourself? Because sometimes the choices that we make or we don't make, they're anti-us. And so it's we're making choices that aren't healthy for us. Staying in a relationship, regardless of the type, when it's clearly clear, like your girlfriend, that we shouldn't be there. Entering into a space. It may even be a business deal. That something in yours like, I don't know if I need to partner with these people. I don't, and you may not be able to identify what it is, but getting to the point that you trust your intuition.
Yes.
Just that, and to the point that it's like your intuition is a compass. And the more that we develop a relationship with ourselves, we trust that compass, and we know that it's calibrated and it points north. So the people who are like our nautical people who on the boats and the captains and things like that, they trust their gauges. They know they're calibrated. They know that if it says north or whatever, that is true north, and they trust it. And once we develop a relationship with our intuition, which I like to use is our intuitions, our inner voice, our heart space, our God space. I use those words all interchangeably. Once you start to develop a relationship with that, you trust your intuition. And now you don't need to seek external. I trust me, and I am going to go with that. If something doesn't feel, I don't need to find out from you and ask and do a survey and whatever. And a lot of times, because this isn't something that we've been taught, we haven't been taught as children what our intuition is, to trust ourselves. So this is something that many of us have learned from trial and error, that we didn't trust our inner voice or trust that intuition, and we went forward, we overrode it, and I like to say sometimes it's that thing that wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, Lord, what? And it comes in a dream, or it's something that's so clear. And that's your intuition, that God space has been able to connect with you, because all of that white noise is gone. Your gadgets are gone. You're asleep. But really, it's that space that you're able to connect with yourself. And since we have cultivated that space, yet a lot of us, we override it. It's just a dream, or, you have, and I'm going to tell you this story. I had this dream and it was my intuition. And it was this thing of course, some guy I was dating at the time, and it was just, he's with another woman. It's just clear, and I'm waking up, Lord, what does that mean? I'm not playing with you. I am not playing with you. You know what it means. But this is what I'm saying, that trial and error. I wrote it, oh, it's just a dream, it's a dream, and asking the guy, I had this dream of blah 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 blah, and he's just like, yeah, that was a dream.
Yeah.
And, thinking to himself like, oh Lord, how she know? But I say that jokingly now, but the truth of the matter is that was my intuition. But at that time, I didn't trust myself,
Yeah.
to trust that intuition to know that it's true. So needless to
Yeah.
say, I dated the guy a little bit longer, and sure enough, there was another woman, blah blah blah. But it's that, are we in unhealthy relationships with ourselves? Are we putting ourselves in situations that aren't for our highest good, that ends up exacerbating wounds that we have? Staying in spaces, entering spaces, not moving, not honoring our voice, not putting up boundaries like you ladies have spoken about so many times, not using our voice. No, don't call me a B word. That doesn't work here.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, then it makes you feel a certain way, that intuition, that inner self, and you let these girls still call you that. Now we're starting to wound ourselves. We're taking an active role in hurting ourselves. So that's
Right.
the last one. When we said all the different types of unhealthy relationships, then we have to have that hard look. Am I being unhealthy with myself?
Right.
Even
And
though I was going to say that goes with a lot of work that you guys do too, with the body image and relationships. It's not about a dress size, but how do I view my body?
mhm.
How am I treating my body? Those type of things. It ties into that. Am I anti-me in some kind of way?
I was gonna say that also, because you were talking about when you basically when you suppress that intuition or that inner voice, a lot of times that's when the physiological things will come into, like the indigestion, stomach issues, digestion issues,
Mm-hmm.
all the things that like are seated in the stomach and all of that. And a lot of that comes from suppression of things that we're not tuning into and we're pushing down.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we want to pop a pill for it or whatever, and a lot of it's just connected to energy and things that we have in our life, which is what our conversation has been centered around, is how do our relationships affect our health and wellness. And a lot of times the issues that we're having with our digestion, our skin, even our hair, and a lot of that is connected to stress and the energy and the things that are going on in our lives,
Yeah.
headaches and all of those things, migraines, blood pressure. I mean, the list goes on and on. And a
Yeah.
lot of it is connected to the people that we have in our lives, and then the energy that those people bring that we continue to absorb and allow to be in our life. And then our body starts to, send us these signals, and these things play out
Yeah.
physiologically.
Yeah. I agree.
You guys want to move to the next question?
Sure.
Let's do it.
The second question was, how do we transition from unhealthy to healthy? So how do we transition from an unhealthy relationship or unhealthy relationships to healthy relationships? And I want to say, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this from the last question when you were talking about intuition, Misha, is that I've told people before, people who are my friends, they know I say that I pretty much, from the first interaction with the person, I pretty much know if they're positive or negative for me. And that has been for decades. I've been like that. But for a long time, I felt bad because
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was judging people, or people would be like, "Oh, he don't give people a chance," you know. And it's like when my first interaction, I'm like, there's something about that person.
Yeah.
You don't really get, and I would feel judgmental. People made me feel like I was being judgmental, and so I would suppress it or push past it and be like, well, I'm going to give them a chance. And then we go on, and then the very thing that I felt about them, that first interaction will play itself out, and I'll be like, see, I knew from the beginning that we just didn't vibe. And it's not, what I've come to learn now is that it's not a judgment against the person. It's not saying that that person is good or bad. It's saying that we are not matched energetically and spiritually. We're not a good match. So I'm already feeling this. So I already know it's not going to work out. And I'm not even talking about romance. I'm talking about friendships, business, all that. Like, I know right off the bat that, this isn't a good match. And it's hey, you might be a cool person. I'm not saying anything wrong with you, but I just don't think that we're going to vibe well.
And you know what? I wanted to say to copy that or piggy off of that is that you're right. It's not a judgment call. It's about me being a connoisseur of me. I know me, and I know what works. I don't need to know you. From what I've seen you shown, that's all I need to know to make a decision. I don't, because I know me. I remember one time when I was early in Love Grows, and I was thinking, oh, I need a PR person, you know, just learning the business. And I remember meeting this one girl. And I didn't know much about PR and things like that. And I was just like, hey, you know, you were recommended. I don't know much about PR. And, I mean, she just cut me down like, what do you do? Relationships? Oh, that's all I need to know. Like, so I need to, if I got people in here, here, and here, and if anyone needs a relationship person, I know that. And she just, and I felt like I knew immediately, no. Like, we're not going to be a good, because no, I'm more than a relationship person. Whatever other relationship people you do, and you didn't even take the time, again, tailored, personalized, you don't know exactly what I do. And, you know, but I also know for me, and Love Grows, which is an extension of me, it's about relationships, the quality, tailoring, customizing, all of that. And I knew you, ma'am, cannot represent my brand. Like, you know, because if you're treating me that way, you can't just think that you're speaking of my brand with this very harsh matter of fact, I don't need to know who you are, I'm going to put you in a box. No, because Love Grows is all about tailoring and customizing. So it goes back to that intuition. I don't care who your clients are, where you have them, who co-signs for you. I know that it doesn't work for me. Not taking away, you may be excellent PR and that might be awesome, but it doesn't fit for me. So, and be okay with that.
You know what, Misha? One more thing on that, too. We could piggyback all day, but I got one more thing. The fact that you mentioned, you know, how she can't represent your brand because she doesn't really know you, and the things that you were saying there reminds me of the fact that if we watch other people and how they treat other people, how can we expect to be treated any differently? You know, some will call it narcissism, some will call it all because we're special. No, if I see you treating this person over here crazy, why am I going to enter myself in your space?
Absolutely.
That's another thing. So, especially for ladies, if you see a guy treating another, his mama, sister, a young lady on the street, whoever it is, and you get a feeling like that wasn't right, what makes you think he's going to do you any different? So that's my little rant on that one.
That's like they say, watch how your date treats the waiter and not how they treat you, because they're trying to impress you on the date. How they treat the waiter will tell you everything about how they really are.
You're right. And how do people, and this is for both men and women, how do they speak about their exes? You know, because, you know, you meet that person and the guy and all his exes are crazy. All of them crazy. Everybody.
That'd be crazy.
And, you know, and that's when you have to say, sir, you were the common denominator between all of these women.
Or it was all her fault, like everything was,
you know,
they don't take responsibility.
Exactly. The bad mouthing, even if it's an ex-wife or ex-husband, mother of your children, father of your children, that conversation, because I always feel at one time there was love. Apparently, there was a space, and so from there, it makes me feel that it wouldn't be hard. It wouldn't be far fetched for me to be entered into that if something were to happen with us, and we went our separate ways. Then now I am one of the crazy women, you know. Now it's and we know that. And the thing about it is, I mean, of course, that's a whole conversation we can have because we understand that we can talk about.
Yeah. Hey, that's part 3.
Right.
You got me. Cause and I have a lot of guy friends, and they're like, Mish, and I told her I didn't want a relationship, and I told her, and I'm like, are you still having sex with her? Yeah. Right. Well, there you go. Right. You're sending mixed messages. Right. I don't want to be in this space with you. I don't want to do that, but you're still going on dates with her. You're still having sex with her. You're still, all of these things, and you're looking for a place. I don't know why she wants me. She's crazy. It's crazy.
So how do we go from how do we go from unhealthy to healthy? What are some ways that we transition over?
Okay, I'll give some initial thoughts. When I hear that question, I'm thinking one or two things. One, if it's currently unhealthy, and you have communicated your feelings and your desires to the other person in a way that is not argumentative, okay, I have to mention that, put that on there. If you do that and you're not getting what you need from the other person, it's not going to become healthy. Then that means that you leave that relationship where it is, right? To go from unhealthy to healthy, it has to be an agreement on both parties. Both people will have to say, okay, where we are right now, I love that space and the pace, I love that. If we are, whatever space we're in right now, if we're not going at the same pace, we need to both figure out, can we catch up? Is there an opportunity for us to do that? Or no? And if it's not, there's nothing wrong with both parties saying, you know what, right now, this is just not what's best for either of us. And that healthy relationship then grows from you becoming healthy with everything comes back to you. I don't care how many times we answer all these questions and talk about this scenario. As you'll hear all of us, everything comes back to you. So that unhealthy to healthy is going to be leaving the unhealthy and making yourself healthy before you move to the next relationship. That's my 2 bits.
And mine is, I looked at it, is that one, when we say it's unhealthy, you have to first identify who's unhealthy. Is it you? Is it the other person? Is it both of us? Mm-hmm. So that's number one. Then to recognize, and we spoke about it before, that unhealthy can become normal very quickly. So again, going back to that connoisseur of me, what in here have I normalized that really is unhealthy? Because it takes a shift, for that one person to get to the point to say, you know what, like you said, Keisha, hey, I've been calling you the beast for 2 years. Why all of a sudden? Because I've realized now this is unhealthy. It's been normal, but it's unhealthy for me. Because I just realized it now. That's why it's an issue, identifying what those components of unhealthy are. To be able to identify, because again, all relationships aren't all bad, because clearly we're in a space. Identify specifically what is unhealthy about it. Is it the way that we resolve conflict? Is it our communication style? Is it our boundaries? What is it? Another thing from going from unhealthy to healthy is to break the silence. So this is especially for people who may be unhealthy physically, mentally, these very abusive type of relationships, because that's one of the ways that the control happens, is through shame and embarrassment, and you don't want to tell anybody. So break that silence. Once you identify what's unhealthy, to start to talk about it. Who can you talk to about that you trust? Seek therapy, individual, if y'all are going to stay together, couple. This is really the only way to help identify what those sources are. And then working with a therapist, because it's going to take time to heal and to change these behaviors. But working with a therapist is kind of catapults you because it's structured in terms of let's really, somebody who knows what they're talking about can really put you on that path to healing, that you don't have to do so much trial and error. You know,
Yeah.
let me, does this work? This doesn't work. You have to decide, do we need to stay together or go our separate ways?
Yeah.
Depending on what is unhealthy. There's some spaces that we can't be in this space. You know, we need to go separate. We need our own individual thing. We may loop back around in our healthy space. We may not. So knowing when to do that. And then what we spoke about before is having that time alone. Once you identify I'm in an unhealthy space, I get out of it, I'm seeking therapy, because you have to create a new normal. Because a lot of times, even though this space is unhealthy, we're attached to these people. You know, we don't want to be alone sometimes, or holidays are coming up, or the family likes him or her, or I put X amount of years into this. I'm getting close to 30, whatever, and I want to get So all of these justifications that we give is that once you go your separate way, you have to create a new normal. You have to get to know yourself again, get to like yourself, to
Yeah.
shed this stuff that doesn't fit you anymore. So those
Yeah.
are some of the things when we're going from unhealthy to healthy.
Yeah. And that kind of helps us transition to the last question, which is, what do we expect when we transition from unhealthy to healthy? And I know in hearing you talk, Misha, one of the things that came up for me was that one of my former pastors' wives, she used to say, my freedom is someone else's loss of control. And that came up for me because it makes me think of that sometimes when you're becoming free from something, or maybe if you realize, like you said, hey, this was okay for a long time, it's not okay anymore now. It's no longer healthy for me. And it might put that other person in a position that feels uncomfortable for them, because for so long this has been okay and now it's not okay anymore.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that can cause conflict, that can make the other person feel insecure in your relationship, because they've been used to you being one way for so long, and now it feels like you're changing. Sometimes people can become, defensive about that. So I think that we need to be conscious of the fact that a lot of times transitioning from unhealthy to healthy isn't easy in anything. We know even when we do that with our own bodies, that there's this period of adjustment. Like when you work out, it's like, whoa, I never used these muscles before. What is this kind of thing? So it's the same thing in a relationship. It's like there's that point of adjustment where it feels painful, or it's awkward, or it's different, and you're flexing these muscles you haven't flexed before. So it's different for you, it's different for the other person. But just like with your body, and if you parallel it to working out or eating or whatever, you have to continue to be consistent with it in order to see the payoff. Because if you stop when it gets painful, you won't see the payoff. So you have to kind of work through that uncomfortable point and keep on going.
Yeah. Hey, do y'all see how I'm trying to do the hostess job to try to secure myself as part of chat too? Keisha, do you have something you want to say?
Pass the mic over to me, boo.
She's like, I really do fit in on this show, guys.
I'm the third host. It's us. We go together. We together.
She's like, this is our third date now. It's something you can say.
You in. No, I don't have anything extra to add, because I do love what Ivy mentioned. I love the anecdotes that you guys are providing in terms of how you can help people with these issues and helping them see the comparison with just regular old life stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm really just digesting right now.
Well, for me, I broke this down into what to expect during the transition from unhealthy to healthy, and then what can we expect after. So real talk, guys, when you are trying to move from this unhealthy space to a healthy space, just like Ivy said, whether it's your body, nutrition, finances, whatever. I mean, there's going to be a range of emotions that you're going to experience, because again, you're going from this normal that you had, even if it was unhealthy or whatever, to a new way of life. And I mean, to be honest, just from my experience from going from an unhealthy space, because we've had them, we've all had them. I mean, there's a range of emotions from anger, sadness, blaming, frustration, disappointment, loss, grieving the relationship, because even if you realize it wasn't healthy, I mean, it was your normal. Feelings of loneliness, not having that person, even if it's a friendship. We may have been friends since 12, and we had to go our separate way, or this was a business, this was my first business, and I sold it. And even if I made money off of it, like I miss it. It was my first baby. Like, you may feel defeated or hopeless. Like, there may even be panic. This because you're thinking like, oh my gosh, I was in this relationship. We were speaking about romantic. Like, oh my gosh, I was in this for 2 years, and what do I have to show for it? And I'm 35, and just that type of thing. There may also at times be the desire to reconnect with that old way, that old person, the old eating habits, the old coping mechanisms, because it's familiar and it's comfortable. And all of it wasn't bad. Of course, there's no, if it was all bad, you wouldn't have been in the relationship in the beginning. But know that it takes time. It's not going to happen over a weekend. Be patient with yourself, because you're creating a new normal. There may even be, for some people, the desire to self-soothe. Alcohol, drugs, shopping, eating, exercising. It can be self-soothing on a positive outcome. Sleeping, partying, miscellaneous sex with people. But understand that those things, other than the exercising, I mean, if it works for you and it's good, like exercising and those type of things, that's different. But understand that that only numbs and delays your healing. That rotating door, and I've done it. We decided we didn't have any beef, but based on the pace and space where we were, we needed to go our separate ways. Maybe based on the wounds that one or both of us had, we needed to go our separate ways and heal individually. And then we may, meet up again and reintroduce ourselves down the line, or maybe not. But in that, once we made and this is my personal story, is that both of us knew that, but we did this rotating door. We continued to come back, because since we never fell out, there wasn't any beef, there wasn't anything. It was really a choice of, hey, Misha, I have these emotional wounds. These are real wounds I need to take care of. I can't do them with you here, but for me, it's just like, no, I love you. And it's like, no.
She's so silly.
No. It's holding on, because for me, I didn't have those wounds. And that's the thing of still respecting someone else's journey. Here it is. He said, hey, Misha, I need this space. And because I didn't agree with it, I didn't have the wounds. I feel okay. I don't understand why we can't keep it going. But I didn't respect his desires and his needs. And so as a result, we had a rotating door, back and forth,
That's that being Mary Jane right there.
Yeah, and then from there, but it's kind of like it's always going to come out in the wash. If he needs this space, it's always going to come back to this, and if I stay in that space, which I did, then I ended up getting some emotional wounds because I was too close. And I like to use this analogy. I do well with analogies. It's kind of like if somebody's out in the ocean and they're drowning. They're flailing, kicking, and you can be a lifeguard, a strong swimmer. You swim out there, and I'm like, Keisha, I'm going to get us ashore. Stop kicking. Listen to this. Let me get there. And Keisha's all knocking me in the head, trying to hold me under. And now, because, Keisha's so wrapped up in your own muck, your own drama, your own fear, your own pain, that you can't even hear. You can't even see me. You don't even see this life route. And now, with me being so close to you, you're actually putting me in danger now. And that's the thing when sometimes we get so close to people who are wounded, and if they're not actually taking the steps to heal themselves, that's how we get wounded in the process.
Right.
And so now you got to make an executive decision like, okay, well, Keisha, I got to leave you out here because I'm not going to let you drown me, And so that's one of the things that when I So that's the rotating door. And so guys who are listening, it's real. Like, I mean, it's not, that's it. I'm being healthy. I'm all of this stuff. Let me throw all these snacks away. I'm eating quinoa and I'm eating steamed broccoli and that's all I'm going to eat for life. It's a process. It's a process for it to be sustainable, but understand, I think some of the things is if we understand these are some of the things that can happen during transition, people don't give up and they're not hard on themselves like, oh my gosh, I called, like we're not supposed to be oh my gosh, and and they don't beat themselves up about it, or oh, I ate a cheeseburger and I'm off my diet, and to understand that it's a process and you try again. I didn't do a whole mile. But you can't go out there tomorrow. Just showing up at the track is a victory, and start to see these small progress. So
Right.
those are some of the things during transition that we can expect.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, ladies. I think we have finally wrapped this up. And we can talk about this for forever, like for real. We can have like we need to call Oprah and be like, you can do a series on this. And have the three of us come on there and do a live class about relationships because we are really talking about this. But if you
I want to say something.
Say something.
Well, I wanted to also do the last one that after we, because we said during transition, but after we transition, what are some things that we can express? Because some people may see like, well, man, if that's all during it, I don't want to transition.
Right.
Like all of that. But after we do the work and we heal, some of the things that we can expect is that you have a new outlook on life. Mm-hmm. You have a clear sense of self and your worth. So now going into relationships, like, I know who I am and I like me. So if you're trying to tell me that I'm not good, like, I know that's not true, and let me just go the other way. Right. I'm not going to try to prove myself to you because I took the time and I know me. You're focused. You feel strong and accomplished. You know what? In the beginning, I thought this was going to break me, but I'm here. I'm not broken. I've learned. You feel lighter. Because, again, you're able to tell the difference from that heavy energy that was weighing you down to now you've done your work. I feel lighter. Mm-hmm. You know how to implement and adhere to boundaries. So implement your boundaries like you ladies have spoken about. But like what I had to learn, respect other people's boundaries as well. There's improvement in all of your relationships because now you're not putting up with it from anyone. And then also the way that you show up for your relationships. You can identify unhealthy miles away. Like, you don't have to enter into those spaces. You're more compassionate, understanding, the ability to forgive. You know what's yours, what's not yours in terms of muck. The characteristics and qualities that work for you, that don't work for you. You don't blame anymore. You're not the victim, You're aware of your energy, like Ivy speaks about, the energy, and you're responsible with that energy. You don't give passes to anyone, mama and them, to abuse you. And you don't compromise or beg or plead or for someone's attention. Because, again, during this process, you became your own friend. And you're like, you know what? I'm cool. I'm insert all of these other things here. And I'm worthy. And I now want to just spend my time and energy with people who want to spend their time and energy with me, the people who recognize me and they think I'm cool. And so that's why we have to push through that uncomfortable and getting to the other side of unhealthy to healthy, because it's worth it. It is work. It's going to be challenging. There may be times that you cry. There's times that yes, you're going to feel the entire gamut of emotions, but it's worth it. It's worth it to come out to the other side, because again, your life is the Atlantic Ocean. You have so much more, God willing, you have so much life to live. And once we get this down, now we're filling our life with relationships that are quality relationships, that we're mutually beneficial to each other and grow. And that changes our life. It changes our life.
Awesome. I'm glad that we didn't miss that summary, because that was a lot of good information.
Drop the mic, boo.
Well, if you're just tuning in, or if you're just seeing this video, this is a continuation of what we've now created a series, the love and relationship series. There was a part 1, which was about self-love, and we did part 2, which was about relationships with others, and then we were having so much great conversation with that we decided to do an after party and record this. So if you haven't seen the other 2 videos, definitely go back and check those out, because this is a continuation of that. And you can also go to chatchewindyou.com and find out more about the show and get on our newsletter. If you have any questions for us, you can definitely, Keisha and you can submit it there. You can also visit Misha's website, which I'm going to put that on in just a second too, MishaGranado.com, and learn more about her and her programs that she has to offer. She has some awesome programs, videos, a beautiful book to offer, so lots of things to support you in your love and relationships journey. Before we go, ladies, do you have anything to say in the wrap up?
Well, I like to wrap up and say thank you so much, ladies, for officially welcoming me as the 3rd host to this show. I need you guys to send me the calendar of what we're talking about for the rest of the year. I have that on my agenda. And I would like some creative input. I would like to see about the direction of this show. That's something. But I adore, both of you. And for those that don't know, I mean, I don't know personally these 2 ladies in real life. Ivy reached out to me.
Only in fantasy.
And Ivy reached out, and I checked out what she and Keisha are doing, and I loved it. And I was like, absolutely, I want to be on board for this. And and from this process, this is our third show of our show, our chat.
Right.
And it's about relationships. And even though we're in 3 different cities, 2 different time zones, is that out of this, it's more than, it's a relationship. And I mean, these are my new friends that I have to meet in real life now, So I thank you, ladies, for supporting Love Grows and making that connection, but then also honoring your spirit and your voice to reach out, because sometimes even this woman entrepreneur journey, sometimes we don't, because it's that fear of, well, what if they say no? What if they whatever? But for you guys to take the chance and say, you know what, I'm going to connect and see what happens. And I'm glad you did. So thank you for sharing your audience, your platform. Thank you for what you do with women and being this voice in this community for women to really grow. I mean, you guys are growing love too, and we need as many gardeners as possible. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for accepting the invite and for being here. And this is so much more than I could have hoped for. It's become so much more than that. So awesome. All right, guys, we're gonna say goodbye for real this time. This is
For real.
But you know how to find us. The websites are up on the screen, so definitely reach out to us if you want to talk to us more.
Yeah.
Bye.
Good night.